Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live. Happy Tuesday. We are on our CSS critique show this morning, but before we start talking and showing CSS videos, what I want to do is just as you congregate, talk a little bit about a topic I just wrote about yesterday, and that is actually using tactical fitness training to build mental toughness. So, here's how that happens, because there's usually barriers in our journey, whether we are going into the military, law enforcement, firefighters, especially special ops. There's another level of fitness that needs to be acquired. And a good way to do that is to do things that are difficult, meaning do things that are you're not good at doing. Maybe you've never even attempted them before. And let me give you a good example. If you want to be a good tactical athlete, you have to be good at everything. And what that means is you have to be strong, you have to have some power. So, strength, power, speed, agility, endurance, run, ruck, swim, endurance, muscle stamina, high rep calisthenics type movements, flexibility, mobility, grip. All of those have to be elevated to a level to where you can do whatever job in the tactical professions you are seeking to do. And here's why it's important. One day could be a life or death situation in these jobs, and your fitness level may be that factor that makes something successful. Whether you are saving yourself, saving someone else, saving your partner, whatever you have to do in that situation could come down to your fitness level. So, being good at everything is an absolute requirement. And here's where many people go into these jobs being maybe they were a former athlete. And like me, they were more in the strength power athlete. So, football, powerlifting, sprinting, all of those are great attributes that you need in this journey, but you also need to balance that out with a high repetition ability and muscle stamina, work capacity. You also need to run, to ruck, to swim, cardiovascular health. All of those need to be elevated. And what people tend to do is they like to do things they like to do, right? Things that they're already good at doing. But if you really want to do well in this profession, putting what you're good at doing aside for a cycle and focusing solely on things you suck at doing. That is a great way to build one, endurance and muscle stamina for me, um, but to build yourself towards that good at everything capability in the tactical athlete world. But because you're doing things you don't like to do and you're challenging yourself in ways that you haven't before, and it's not fun, and you're humbled and you keep working harder and you find that momentum to see improvements, and day after day, next thing you know, you've sacrificed some things that you were really good at doing, but you're still good enough at doing them, but you've also improved in things that you were not really good at. What do you think that offers you? That builds some self-confidence, that builds some resilience slash mental toughness, whatever you want to call it. But that is a prime example of ways that you can actually develop mental toughness in the process of becoming a better tactical athlete. Another example would be, let's say you're good at everything on land, but you suck at swimming. You can't tread, can't swim underwater. That's a big fear for a lot of people, especially when they're not good at it. And you're going to spend a couple of hours a day on land where you might only need to spend 30 minutes on land and an hour and a half in the water. That's a big sacrifice. And because you are sacrificing things that you already are good at and you like to do for things that you are scared to do, you haven't done well at them, you got to take lessons. You're a beginner taking swim lessons with a 10-year-old kid. That's humbling, right? All of that adds to you being a better tactical athlete, spec ops candidate, or whatever profession in the tactical world you are preparing for. So that it is that in depth of a journey. It is not just saying, "Hey, I'm going to do pull ups, push ups, and sit ups and crush that PT test." It's a little more than that. So think about it. And if you have more questions about it, please ask. But I just wrote this article. It's called Break Through Your Physical and Mental Barriers with Tactical Fitness. It's up on military.com, or will be up on military.com probably today or tomorrow if it's not up there already. I'll probably post it on my Instagram live today if I find it up. So you'll see it. All right, let's take some questions and we'll show some videos of the CSS. I got a few lined up, ready to go. Question 1 from Matthew. Why do I lose a lot of momentum when I try to recover from my breaststroke pullout? Oh, that's a great question. And it happens all the time. Probably 2 reasons. One, after you pull here, you're not really streamlined. You got to really stay tight in here. So you're losing momentum that way. You're probably over gliding, could be part of that. And then the biggest reason is when you kick and recover, it's not tight, right? Whenever you recover your arms from here, you want everything up tight like that, not out here doing a big arm recovery because you're just scooping water and putting on the brakes when you do that. So that's probably the biggest reasons. But I will tell you this, my advice is to do a 50 with the breaststroke pull out on both sides. If you're in a 25-meter pool or yard pool, it's time yourself. Then do it without the breaststroke pull out. Kick off the wall, glide real far. Boom, your first movement is coming up to breathe with that top arm. Do that for 50 and see which one's better. Are you saving a stroke per length or 2 strokes per length? That's important. Are you faster one way or the other? That's also important. So consider that. And there's no reason to do them both. You can do a breaststroke pull out on one side and not a breaststroke pull out on the other side. Mix and match. See what works best for you. All right, let's see. U.S. Air Force is changing the weight lift at MEPS to the deadlift. No super heavy, but focus on proper form and progression. You sure about MEPS? That makes no sense. MEPS is medical. You mean prep? Maybe? Or before you go? I mean, the deadlift is part of their fitness test. You got to take a look at the operator fitness test. Not the IFT, but the OFT. In fact, I've probably written about it. IFT, OFT, Stu Smith. Boom, definitely my program on it is definitely there. Let's see here. There's a couple of updates here that the Air Force did. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they got everything from a ruck, standing long jump, pro agility, deadlift, pull ups, farmer carry, shuttle run, combat swim with fins. Yeah. So, anyway, check this out. That'll give you an idea that this is nothing new. And once again, I don't think it's MEPS. Maybe it's before MEPS. I don't know. I haven't seen too many weight rooms at MEPS. I could be wrong though. Air Force bases are pretty nice. Starting back running today with steady state run. When I continue my ITBS rehab exercises, should I do them as a cool down? I would. I'd continue doing them until you're just bored of doing them and you really don't need them anymore. But give it a month before you stop doing them. I find them very helpful. I find them a great cool down. I still do them even though I don't have any IT band, and I swear it's helps me not get IT band. Hey Stu, what percentage of teenagers make it through buds? I've said this so many times. It's less than 5%. might even be closer to 3. I mean, just look at the first buds class, or not the first buds class, any buds class. You're probably going to have 85% teenagers in the beginning of that class, and you're probably going to have you'll lose a whole lot of them. So by the time you get to graduating, finishing buds, that is, you might have a handful left. So, for instance, this is just my class, and not a lot of statistics have changed since then. 120 people start, 28 graduate. We had 2 teenagers graduate. And we started off with probably 100 teenagers. Not quite. We had some roll-ins, so we lost some people, gained some people. So it's all over the place with the full statistics. But yeah, that's typical. It's very low, put it that way. If there's a demographic that is horrible, it's that one. And I've said for years, I think there should be a minimum age range, not a maximum age range. You know, let's make it 20. You got from age 20 to 30 to get to and through buds. My recommendation. That's just me speaking, not the Navy. Ex-Army and police, Stu's knowledge is invaluable. Oh, well, thank you. Firsthand experience, you need to do the things that are tough on you and build on it. I would agree. Thank you, sir. I got through training with an injury. Training smart helped me get through recovery at the academy. If you save one life, your training is worth it. That's a very good point. Appreciate that, Rob. I'm transitioning from powerlifting, but now I'm concerned with how much cardio is too much. Well, too much cardio is when you're hurting. I usually do 35-minute Tabatas at 170, 180 heart rate, average 5 times a week. I think that's too much with running 2 miles every other day. That's pretty low on the mileage, to be honest with you. I mean, that's good. That's not aerobic training, right? That's definitely anaerobic training, which you're probably an animal at. So why don't you drop it down to aerobic training and build an aerobic base? And you don't have to do that with long, slow distance running. You can do that with biking. Just don't do Tabata intervals with it. You can do it with swimming as well. Rowing, elliptical. So I would say if you're going to do Tabatas, maybe twice a week, do some goal pace running twice a week, and then do a steady state slash, slower paced run, once or twice a week. And it doesn't have to be much, if you're only at 6 miles a week right now, you can make it a mile every day, 6 days a week. If you want to do it that way and stay in that same range and then build up to 10, and just increase by 15% each week. Too much is when you start feeling injured. You have to change it up a little bit. But you're not doing too much right now. I promise you. Unless you're, 280 pounds trying to run 2 miles every other day. That's hard to do. I'm about 5 seconds faster with a breaststroke pullout. And if I cannot lose my momentum, I would fly. Um, yeah, I'd do the breaststroke pullout then. Because even if you're faster without losing momentum, you're faster. So try not to lose momentum. Try not to glide too long and try to work on your tight recovery. I promise you it'll fix it. 30 push ups in between 2 minutes, set, rest for push up. Hey, great. Naval Academy birthday. I did not even know that. Did you notice 5 to 10 pounds weight gain on your 1.5 mile any timed runs? If so, how are your times affected? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Gary. Are you asking if I gain 5 to 10 pounds, is my mile and a half affected in some way? Could be. That's not a whole lot of weight. 20 pounds would be a whole lot of weight. 5 to 10 pounds doesn't really slow you down that much. My CSS is twice as fast as my turtle backing. My CSS is twice slower than my turtle backing. That doesn't make sense. Turtle backing is going to be a little slow. Probably, you might be able to keep it at a yard per second if you're laid back and not vertical or diagonal in the water. But doesn't make any sense if it's slower. Probably not doing it right. Why don't you send a video and we'll tell you if you're doing it right or not. Send a video of you turtle backing and send a video of you doing a CSS with fins and without fins. Then I can tell you what you're doing, because other than that comment there, I don't know even how to begin. All right, let's do some CSS. We'll talk about some. Let me see here. Where's my inbox? All right, so I'm going to bring this guy. Looks like. All right, you guys can see this. Where are you? All right, good. My computer's moving a little slow here. What's going on here? Wow, that sucks. What's going on? Well, let me see if I can bring this one up. Well, I think I might have shown this one in the past, but since my computer's a little weird, let's see it again. So we got top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Overgliding, right? You can see him losing momentum by just gliding that extra second. Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Not bad. I kind of like this kick. See how this looks. Okay on the breaststroke pullout. Okay on the transition. Didn't lose any momentum. This is where you're losing momentum right here, though. Like he almost stopped at that 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Yeah, pull on 3, and let's see what that does to your time. I mean, this isn't bad. I mean, it's still a minute CSS. Not quite a minute. I give you 58 seconds, so it's a little slow. So let's see. Let's see what this one looks like. But that one's not bad. I got to give it to you. Not too bad. All right, let's see what we have here. Looks like we just have one length, so let's make sure this is good. I think when you're gliding there, your head is way too deep. Top arm, bottom arm. Kick. Okay. Kick. Ah, no, the old double kick. So you got top arm, kick and glide. And notice you're pulling and kicking with that top arm. That's probably an old elementary side stroke habit that you might have learned the side stroke as an elementary side stroke where you kick and pull that top arm and glide like this. All right. So this is how you glide in the elementary side stroke. See that? And it's not very effective because you're just plowing the surface. So you got a good glide afterwards. So we got one Mississippi, two Mississippi pull. That's good. I think you don't need that second kick. I will say this though. I mean, might be considered illegal because the true cadence of this stroke is top arm, bottom arm, breathe, kick, and glide. It's not two kicks, it's one kick. Technically speaking, you're not supposed to do little flutter kicks, but a lot of people teach it that way. I think it's a waste of energy. And look, I will tell you this, if I were to find a better way to teach and do the CSS, I would do it. I just think my method is efficient, and this isn't my method that I created. It's just the method that I've learned along the way. It is the most efficient. It is the easiest to learn for a non-swimming athlete, and it doesn't require as much swimming conditioning as a swimming athlete needs. All right, that's not too bad. Let's stop this and take some questions here. Is it wrong when I do the breaststroke pullout, I use a scissor kick, or would you have to use a frog or breaststroke? No, you can use whatever kick you want. There's no rule for it. In a breaststroke competitive swim, sure, you got to use a breaststroke kick. Um, but for a CSS 500, nobody cares. I am much better scissor kicker than I am breaststroke kicker. I have always done a scissor kick off the wall with my breaststroke pullout. Just the way it is. Hmm. All right, I think I got another one here I can show you guys. This is a really good one. All right, so this is really fast. This is a 50 yards in 41 seconds. So check this out. Let's see if we see any issues. All right, so here we go. Get that out of the way. All right, so kick off the wall. I can see right now the reason why he's so fast is his tight streamline. And then notice that arm recovery. You see that? Now watch this top arm pull. Now watch what he does. He goes to his side. Check this out. Goes right into a scissor kick. But also notice where his arms went. Really tight. Good breaststroke pull out. Hold the glide. Comes up tight. Those little flutter kicks in there. I don't think he needs those. In fact, I wouldn't do any of these flutter kicks. That's probably why it's so fast. And you know what here too? Notice this. He is holding that glide right here way too long. Maybe, okay, maybe he was just doing it for the last stroke. Let's see. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. Yeah, way too many flutter kicks. But, I mean, it's fast. You're going to be faster with these flutter kicks. But the question is, how long can you last? Most people don't last very long with that many flutter kicks starting out. And you may be fast for your first lap, but your sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th lap are going to get slower and slower. All right, let's see going back because I think he goes on his weak side coming back if I'm right. Now, Look at this. Top arm, bottom arm,
Right.
kick. Looks good. He doesn't need these extra flutter kicks. He's got a good flutter kick, though. Now, he's probably going to be faster with that flutter kick. My advice is this: don't just test your swim when you're seeing if flutter kicks work best for you or not. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be a little faster with the flutter kicks. But how does that affect the rest of your PST? Because that's what matters. Does it affect your sit ups because you just did 400 to 500 extra kicks in a 500-yard swim using your hips, hip flexors to do that kick, sit ups, hip flexors? Does that decrease? The other one is your legs. How do your legs feel after you've done this many flutter kicks on the mile and a half? If you don't feel any difference, don't listen to me. All right. But if you do, you may want to reconsider how much energy you're putting out on the swim, and does that affect the rest of your PST? You got to think strategically in a PST, because it's not just one exercise and you gut check it out. You got to find a good solid pace that makes you fast, makes you not waste a lot of energy, and have enough energy for the rest of the PST, which, if you don't know, is push ups, sit ups, pull ups in a mile and a half. Those are not easy to do after blowing it all in the pool. All right. Got a few questions that came in up on Instagram too. I'll take those as well. Um, hey Stu, what's a good running pace for my long and short distance runs? Well, it's kind of up to you. I would say there's three paces. There's the mile and a half timed run pace, or your 2 mile timed run pace if you're in the Army, which should be flirting with 6 minute miles. You need to learn how to run 6 minute miles to crush a 9 minute mile and a half, period. For longer runs, let's say your weekly 4 mile timed run at Buds, it is good to be able to not be a gut check and still be able to do 28 minutes on a 4 mile timed run out there. 7 minute mile. So 7 minute mile is another pace you need to learn. The final one is really just kind of a steady state, lower heart rate. You can call it a zone 2 if you want, and that you can make that a 8 minute pace. Probably better to make it a sub 8 minute pace, but those are the three paces I would deal with. Anything slower than that, I'd do on a bicycle. My opinion. All right, so there's a couple questions. All right, this is a great question. I love these. Is the swimmer test using the combat side stroke or another type of stroke? You can use an underwater recovery stroke. So it is the combat swimmer stroke, which I just showed you. It is the elementary side stroke that is also considered an underwater recovery stroke, and it is the breaststroke. They all have to be underwater recovery strokes and not arm coming out of the water, waving at everybody, surface freestyle. Okay. Because there's a reason for that. In fact, let me just show you. I had posted a video the other day on my story. I think you'll like this. Check this out. If you haven't seen it, you guys got to check out my Instagram because I post a lot of stuff on here. I'm not sure I can get it bigger. But as you can see here, this is a guy swimming the combat swimmer stroke. Let me see if I can get it to go back. Oh, got to do it again. All right, so here we go. So, combat swimmer stroke. Now, this is daylight. In the middle of the night, you would not be able to see this unless it's a full moon. Just looks like an animal swimming at night. So there you go. Why do we do this combat swimmer stroke? Great article in here, by the way. In fact, you can see right here, Spec Ops use of the combat swimmer stroke. Click that link and you'll see a great article. In fact, I'll put it into the comment section. You guys can check that out. Good article on why we do it. Let's see. I also watched a video on the CSS strokes that I was discussing the pool sizes. What pool size is recommended for preparation? I will say this. That's actually a good question. Your test is in yards. So you need to know whether or not the pool that you're in is a meter or a yard pool. So that means saying maybe looking on a scoreboard. Sometimes they will have scores of local swim teams that have records, right? That will either be in meters or yards. Um, if you're in a yard pool, it'd be up there in yards. If you're in a meter pool, it'd be up there in meters, typically. Now, otherwise, you're going to have to do conversions for a competition, which is just weird. So 9 times out of 10, that will be the number one way to do it. You can ask the lifeguard, hey, is this a yard pool or a meter pool? You can bring a long measuring device, like a roll of tape, like you're measuring shot put throws or something, one end to the other. That's another way to do it. Actually measure it. But yeah, if you can get a 25-yard pool, that's great. If you can find a 50-yard pool, that's probably even better. Because you will be swimming in a 50-meter pool at Buds. And whenever you are in a meter pool, just know that you have to swim 450 meters to equal 500 yards. Right? These are things that should be thought out when you go swimming. Anything smaller than 25-yard pool is going to be a little difficult to swim. I've done it before. Great place to tread if it has a deep end. You practice drown proofing, so it's not useless. If you kick off the wall, do a breaststroke pullout, and you're on the other side of the pool, that pool's too small. Now, you can practice your breaststroke pullouts. That's something you could do. Every time you turn around, you do a breaststroke pullout, and you're done. Do a swim workout that practice breaststroke pullouts. Nothing wrong with that. Rest with treading. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to practice the stroke in that small of a pool, my advice would be to do not even do a breaststroke pullout. Just kick off the wall, get a little momentum, come up, start breathing immediately so you can get at least 2 strokes, maybe 3 to get across the pool, depending on your efficiency. So, not a bad question. A little bit of common sense that could have been applied to that one, but I'll give it to you. Let's see. Other one is practice with fins or PST no fins. You need to do both. I'm a firm believer in topping off your leg day with swimming with fins. Yes, if you really need to crush the PST, in fact, I have a couple of guys not swimming with fins at all for the next couple of weeks because they're only doing the 50-50 or the 75-75 or 100-100s 5 days a week this week. And I'm trying to see if I can get them to drop 30 to 45 seconds in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which is very possible. That'd put them under 9 minutes. Pretty happy with that type of pace. Just requires a little bit more conditioning. They got the stroke down. Now we just got to get a little more conditioning. That's a great way to do that. So if you're focused solely on the PST, you might just want to swim freestyle and CSS just to get in shape. Don't worry about your fins. However, I will say this. If you're having kick issues, a great way to practice your kick is put on a pair of fins on leg days. Practice that big scissor kick and hold the glide. Practice that big scissor kick constantly. Hold the glide just so you can build up some of those leg muscles to just perform a better scissor kick. You do that with a kickboard, or you can just do it swimming the CSS regularly, but just do scissor kicks versus little flutter kicks. All right. So there you go. Let's see. Young Howie, what's up? Dropped out of class 349. Sorry to hear that. Um, how is prep school now? I got 4 weeks of prep and I was in Bow. I think starting this month, actually, October, the new change is it's a 12-week prep, and it's not Bud's instructor led. It's led by coaches. That sole job is to get you in shape for Bow or whatever they want to call it. The when they start doing actual Buds events, um, boats and logs and things like that. So first phase maybe. But yeah, it's a 12-week prep now because people are just coming out of boot camp way too deconditioned. And they're going to try to get more people from the fleet to come back to Buds that may have not made it their first time. And they want to make sure that they have plenty of time to get back in shape because it's hard to get, if you're on a boat somewhere, it's sometimes hard to get a run or swim in regularly. You tend to lose a little bit of your conditioning. So that is what I've heard as of October 2023. So that is this month. Let's see. You guys got any more questions for me? I think that's all my videos I have. I will say this though, if you're looking for videos, ideas, the one place I have it is easy to find. You can either go to my Instagram at StuSmith50 on the Reels page. There's a little stuff, some stuff to sift through, but my TikTok at the same address, StuSmith50, has nothing but CSS videos. All my latest CSS videos are over on TikTok. I have some older ones up on YouTube that you can find, trying to put some on the shorts as well, kind of help you differentiate what swimming with fins looks like compared to swimming without fins, swimming elementary side stroke versus the CSS, lead arm, trail arm versus turtle backing or CSS with fins. All of those are things that it's nice to be able to see a split screen of the two going side by side, just for your education purposes over there, because a lot of people get all of those confused and not sure when to practice them. All right, let's see. We got any more questions? So I may have to cut it short. I got a little bit of work I need to do today, but I'm happy to answer more questions if you have them. Unfortunately, I don't have any more videos to show you unless we just go over to TikTok or Reels and I just pull up some there. But you guys can do that. Let's see. I'll give you a few seconds. I will say this. If you guys would, this thing runs on likes. So make sure you punch that like button. I would appreciate it. Pass it on to somebody that needs to hear some of these questions and answers or CSS comments. Share those things. Somebody asks here, how do I prepare for the 50-meter underwater? My advice is learn how to swim underwater efficiently. And I have several videos out there of people swimming underwater, doing 25 yards in as little as 3, usually 4 strokes. So that means a big double arm pull, hold that glide, a big kick and recover, hold that glide. Next thing you know, you've gotten all the way across the pool in about 3 or 4 strokes. That works really well for underwater swimming. And when you can do a 25 real easy and not even be out of breath, you're probably capable of turning around and coming back onto a 50-meter. But here's the deal. literally nobody in my buds class failed the 50-meter underwater. And on the day we went to take the 50-meter underwater swim, we had 100 people. I remember the head count exactly just because I was like, damn, got 100 people. Let's see how many people failed. We'll have a perfect percentage of people failing this test. And I thought it'd be like 15-20% or something. We'd have 15-20 people fail because they put a lot of hype into that test. Um, but nobody failed it. And that was when we had 100 people in the class. So we had already lost 28 people. No, 20 people. We had lost 20 people by that time. And I think it was the first week of buds, towards the end of the first week. Um, and they left not because of the 50-meter underwater. It's probably because of the wet, sandy, cold. Maybe if they failed a 4-mile timed run, didn't meet the standard. They just quit for some reason. I did not know why. Um, but nobody failed it. And I will say it's almost like a game day thing when you're really fired up and you just do it and you see people doing it and it's just fun. It wasn't like this big obstacle you had to overcome. It was a fun challenge and everybody rose to the occasion and got it. Um, but you do have some time to practice. My advice is to do it as efficiently as possible. Where most people screw up is it's just constant pulling like this instead of pulling and holding that glide for as long as you can. If you want, get really good at breaststroke pullouts because that's basically the underwater swim stroke. You double arm pull, hold that glide, kick and recover, hold that glide. You just don't come up for a breath and you double arm pull again. So pull glide, kick glide um, is your setup sequence. What are the most strict rules when doing the pool test with fins and buds? The biggest one is it has to be an underwater recovery stroke. Every now and then there may be a rule someone sets on you arbitrarily, like no goggles, no breaststroke pullouts. You got to be facing me the entire time, and I'm sitting up on the side. So that means every length you have to change sides, strong side, weak side, back and forth. Um, those are some of them, but they're not ones that are consistent. The only one that's really consistent is that breaststroke pullout, or I'm sorry, the underwater recovery stroke. Let's see. During the PST, are we required to switch sides or can we stay on our preferred side? It depends on what the instructor says. 9 times out of 10, they don't care. Every now and then you'll get an instructor that says, hey, let's see your strong and weak side on this one. Every time you pass me, you got to be facing me. So you got to change sides every length. That's one of those arbitrary rules that you might find. How much of your recent weight loss do you think was from portion control versus being in your summer cardio plan? Definitely my summer cardio plan helped. But portion control is when I saw it really coming off versus me being able to just run it off. I couldn't. I'll be honest with you. I was probably maintaining weight with the summer cardio program. But then once I started doing portion control, um, just eating less, that's when the weight started coming off regularly too, like 218 down to 210, in a couple of weeks, and then 210 down to 205, flirting around with 200 right now. I just got sick, so I didn't work out as much, but I didn't eat as much either. So I'm still flirting around 204, 203. So still trying to keep it below 200, but it's just to be honest with you, it's a long run, sweaty afternoon, and I'm under 200 pounds. Um, but obviously that's just water weight. But oh, do I hold my breath or release my breath? What are you talking about? You talking about underwater swim? Are you the underwater swim guy? Well, you got to hold your breath for 50 meters, but it's not the lack of oxygen that makes you want to breathe. It's that buildup of carbon dioxide. So, yes, you have to exhale some, not all, just some. And that will probably decrease your urge to breathe significantly. Any tips for applying as an officer, as civilian? Ways to get experience that will hold weight on resume. Any leadership experience is legitimate for your resume. So that's really what they're looking for. As a civilian with a college degree and you want to serve, you'll go to OCS. They'll send you to SOAS first, then they will tell you if you can go to OCS. That's a really good deal too, because a lot of guys, want to be SEALs, and let's say if they're a midshipman at the academy or ROTC unit, and they don't get selected for uh, after SOAS, let's say they ran out of billets or just didn't do as well as everybody else, um, they won't get to go to buds. They'll have to go to something first, and then 2 years later, probably lateral transfer back to buds as a lateral transfer candidate coming from the fleet. Whereas the civilian who wants to go officer applies to OCS, goes to SOAS first. Let's say he doesn't get picked up for whatever reason. Um, that person does not have to go to OCS. That person could say, you know what? I'm going to enlist and go to buds, and then maybe try this enlisted to officer, you know, uh, transition later after a tour or so. You learn kind of on the job training as an enlisted SEAL. That's a really good option for the OCS guys. Would training new hires at work and running technique mentoring wrestlers count towards leadership? Oh yeah, absolutely. We had to do something very similar with jujitsu. Like he ran a jujitsu gym, from sales to training new hires to training students, um, mentoring, all of that. Absolutely. Put all of that in there as a coach, volunteer coach. That's really good. Community service. Um, so all of that is going to be good for your resume. I promise. Yep. All right, folks. I do need to go. I'm running a little bit late on some things I got to do. Um, but if I missed your question, um, please just copy and paste it or email it to me, stu@stewsmith.com. Happy to answer that for you by email. But check out stewsmithfitness.com. Lots of articles over there, ebooks, books, and you can save 15% using the Live15 coupon code that I offer on these days. So give it a shot, get something, start training, ask me questions about it along the way. I can't tell you how many people say, how should I break this up if I can't do it all in one day? Or I can't get a pool today. What should I do? I'm here to answer those questions. That's some customer service right there, buddy. All right, let's see what else we have. Looks like everybody's done. I'll take this one last question. For pool tests with fins, can you push off the wall, use techniques like dolphin? Yes. With underwater recovery stroke, wondering what I can practice with the timed 1000. Yeah, the timed 1000 is definitely something you should get good at. Try to keep it at a yard per second, 17 minutes, somewhere in there is a good pace. And then build up to 2000 because you will be probably swimming with fins in the pool to get a time and that time will be placed with another guy who's like similar time to be your swim buddy for the open water events. So it does matter where you are on that timeline. So it's always good to have somebody a little faster than you too. So that ways you won't be pulling anybody. You may have to put out a little bit more to stay with them, but that's fine too. As long as you're crushing the swim, you'll get plenty of time after the swim to worry about the next event where a lot of people are still swimming. All right, folks, I got to run. You guys have a good one. I'll be back next week. You guys got any ideas for articles or topics? Happy to discuss them on the next show. So, always looking for ideas from you guys. So, I appreciate it. Have a good one.